Guys, in today's video, let's talk about the V50 versus the Galaxy S21. So if you're in a market for a new phone, should you spend less or spend more? So we're going to find that out and see which one is going to be the better buy for you. So starting off with the price point, you can pick a V50 up for around 300 bucks. Now, do mind that the Sprint version does not work on 5G anymore. So you can get the Verizon version, and I'll link that down below, but I don't live in a 5G area, so it wasn't a big thing for me when they did the merger. But the Galaxy S21, obviously brand new, 800 bucks. Let's go ahead and get started with the hardware. So the big difference you're going to notice with both of these phones is the V50 is a glass and metal phone, and this is a metal and plastic phone. Now, the Galaxy S21 still feels like a premium phone. It doesn't feel cheap, but the V50 definitely feels much better to me. I think it just feels and actually just looks like the better device to me. And I think mostly because the flat camera design on the V50 I think is really timeless. There's no rays, if you've noticed, and I think that's just beautiful how LG did that. It's really underrated design, and I absolutely love that. It's very rare to see that on any smartphone. So let's go over the just button layout for you guys real quick. So on the V50 you have our power button, SIM tray, S21 volume rockers, power button. Left hand side on the V50 we have volume rockers, Google Assistant button. Down below on both phones we have USB Type-C. Both of these phones have a stereo speakers, but no headphone jack on the S21. You do have a headphone jack with a quad DAC on the V50. So if you have a good pair of headphones, you will get very good high quality audio as well here. So let's talk about the displays here, because it's a give and take situation here. So starting with the V50, you have a 6.4 inch POLED display, HDR10. It's a 1440p display, 538 for the PPI. On the S21, it's a 6.2 inch display, 1080p, 421 for the PPI. So what I love about the S21's display is that you have a punch hole and obviously you have slimmer bezels on the S21, but with the V50, yes, you have bigger bezels and you have a notch here, but the V50's display definitely looks sharper than the S21. When you're looking at icons and looking at text and stuff like that, it is a much sharper display, being a 2K versus a 1080p display. Color-wise, they both pretty much give off these very vibrant looking colors. Now, I can get the super vibrant looking colors from the V50 if I change the color temperature, but honestly, they both look identical in terms of just display quality and just vibrant colors. Like I said, if you want the super vibrant colors, you would just change the display quality on the V50. But as far as the overall panel, watching videos, like if I queued up a nature video on this phone, if you watch it in 1440p versus 1080p, you will notice a difference. It's an obvious difference with detail on the screen for sure here. Like I said, I think the most noticeable thing is when you're looking at icons and stuff like that, it just looks super sharp. Now, there is another benefit to the S21's display. It does have the 120 hertz display, which makes everything silky smooth when you're just scrolling through the phone. It is really nice to have. So 120 hertz is always appreciated. On the V60, you just have a 60 hertz display. Now, the V60 still feels smooth, but if you've never used a 120 hertz display, it does make everything really smooth. Now, I really like it. You can take advantage of it with gaming and stuff like that as well. Now, a ton of games don't support 120 hertz, but there's a few like the Sonic game that I really like and a couple other. But yeah, it's just a really nice experience to be able to scrolling through Instagram or whatever you're doing on your phone. You have that super silky smooth experience, which is always nice. Now, as far as the software goes, you have Android 11 on the S21, you have Android 10 on the V50, LG Skin, One UI Skin on here. Now, I really like LG Skin. It's not a terrible skin like people make it seem. It's very stock Android, very minimal skin. It's not super heavy. Like Samsung Skin is the complete opposite. It's got a lot of stuff in it. Just a lot of stuff to play with. As you can see, the Samsung Edge. There's a lot of stuff. Now, they did get the Google Home or the Google Now right here, which is really awesome. I love that. But just have a ton of features and stuff to play with and customize. It's a very heavy skin. It kind of reminds me of like the MIUI skin. That's another heavy skin. But that comes down to personal preference. Some people don't like either. Some people like stock Android. It just comes down to your personal taste. But as far as software updates, of course, it's a newer phone, so you'll get more software updates. And with the V50, honestly, you probably will get Android 11. That might be it for the V50. It might get Android 12, but I'm not completely sure. Now, on the V50, you have the Snapdragon 855 and the Adreno 640, micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and 6 gigs of RAM. On the S21, you have the Snapdragon 888, Adreno 660, no micro SD support, so you have more storage on the V50 essentially, and you do have 128 gigs of internal storage on the S21 and 8 gigs of RAM. So let's see how this performs with the real world speed test. Now I went ahead and ran the Geekbench for both of these, so as you can see the scores, big difference on the single core and multi-core, but let's see how this translates into real world usage here. And exit out of that. Let's launch a web page first and switch it up. Open ESPN.com. See, it's not a huge difference as we saw right there. So, the S21 got it there, of course, but again, not a massive difference in terms of, speed here. Let's go ahead and check out Subway Surfer. S21 in, V50 in. Let's try YouTube. 3, 2, 1. Seemed like the V50 kind of got it there, but it seemed like a tie, honestly. S21. Let's try. Do I have it on here? Temporary? Yeah, I have it on here. Let's try that. So again, you're gonna get a slight performance boost with this 88 chip, but it's not gonna be anything that's gonna be super mind-blowing. The 855 is still super fast and right behind it, honestly. Let's try one more. Instagram. S21 by a good amount of time there. Oh well, wait. Yeah, I was really close though. Alright, let's talk about the additional features with these phones. So you have a physical fingerprint scanner versus a in-display fingerprint scanner on the V50. So the V50's fingerprint scanner is faster. The physical ones are always faster to me. It pretty much feels instant. And you do have face unlock on the V50 as well. The S21 has a very fast and much improved fingerprint scanner under the glass, contrary to what a lot of other people are saying. I do think it's definitely been improved here. It's pretty much almost instant now. So I don't know what people are saying, but they made it bigger, but honestly, it's very fast. You do have face unlock on the S21 as well. Both of these phones are IP68 dust and water resistant, which means you could drop them in the water or whatever. You can get them wet and they won't break immediately. So that is very nice as well. And again, you have the headphone jack with the quad DAC on the V50. They both have NFC for your mobile payments as well. So if you want to do that, that is available on both of these guys. Now I want to go ahead and talk about the cameras real quick, and then we'll talk about them a little bit more in detail. But let's talk about the V50's camera setup. So you have a 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel telephoto, 16 megapixel ultra wide, 4K video, and a dual camera setup up front. So it makes good use of the the notch up top. It's an 8 megapixel selfie and then a wide angle. 5 megapixel shoots in 1080p. And on the S21 here we have also a triple camera setup as well. It's a 12 megapixel and a 16 megapixel telephoto and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. You get 8K video along with a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K. So I'll go ahead and show you guys some photos from each phone, and then we'll talk about sort of like the side-by-side photos that I took and what I noticed. So let's talk about some of the things I noticed with each, phone here. So what I noticed with the V50 is that it's definitely more color accurate than the S21. So I took this photo without the lights on, and as you can see, the S21 bumped up the ISO, and obviously it does like the thing with the color and stuff like that. But detail looks great on both of these guys, but the more realistic photo is the V50. Now you can bump up the ISO and color and stuff like that in manual mode, but I do like that the V50 gives you a more realistic shot. And now here you can see that with this photo, it made the sky like super blue. It was nowhere near this blue. It looks more like, with the V50 here. Now it looked kind of dull, it doesn't look as attractive, but that's what it actually looked like. And Samsung gives you this super vibrant color with the trees and everything. So that is a theme here. It's very appealing to the eye, but not super realistic. So it comes down to personal, taste, but I'm not noticing a huge difference with detail here as well. They both look really great detail wise. If you look at the ground and stuff like that, they both look really great, but the S21 is going to have slightly better detail, and with the ultra wide lens as well. So it's the same thing. More pictures I took, great detail on both, but the S21 slightly more detail, and I think white balance a little bit better on the S21 as well. So that was like a reoccurring theme here, taking photos with both of these phones. Great cameras on both, but I do think the S21 of course has slightly better cameras. Now lastly, let's talk about battery life. So you do have a 4,000 milliamp battery on both of these phones actually, and you also have faster charging on the S21 though, which I really appreciate. It's 25 watts instead of the 18 watts on the V50. They both have wireless charging as well too. So as far as which one has better battery life, honestly I was leaning a little bit more to the V50, but I would have to do a drain test because they felt almost pretty much the same when you're using them. They're definitely a full day's use of phone for each phone, which is something that I really like. So all day use for these phones for sure. But if you're on 5G, like I said, I don't have 5G, so I don't know. But yeah, so excellent battery life on both of these phones. So what do you guys think? Which one would you guys pick? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.